Now we're going to install the new harness. Everything out. Just squeeze the grommet. Got a new harness, plugs in factory. Has its own grommet. Plugs in at factory. Then we're going to run our red wire up to the battery. Our ground is going to go to the factory spot right here, right with the factory ground, and then we are going to check voltage. Alright, we have the harness installed. We've got the relay out so we can check the voltage on it, but you'll be able to tuck the relay up under the factory plastic. As you can see, we just have our ground running to the factory ground here, under the latch back here, and we're up to 13.8, 13.9 volts. So we picked up a volt and a half at the pump, which will help it flow more. Install just plugged into the factory connectors, fits with the factory cover, and now we're getting a lot more flow out of our fuel pump. Alright, we're looking at the fuel pump cover here, and this is the main connector that has the fuel level sender, and it takes power and ground to your pump. And on the underside of this, when you lift this up to access the pump, you've got this factory connector here that plugs in on the underside right here, and then it's got factory 16 gauge wire. Well, you will get another factory connector, so it'll just plug in into here on the bottom side, but it's got 12 gauge wire, so much thicker, and it's mil spec. It's rated to be submerged in gasoline. And then when you take this cover off, you'll see that you have screws, which are usually rusty and can easily strip out, but the kit comes with new stainless bolts, so you're covered there. So this would be good for a Walbro 255, an OEM Supra Mark IV twin turbo pump, and then if you're going bigger than that, you can go with this option, which still has a factory connector, so you've got your fuel level sender in there. They'll just plug right in, the gauge will still work, and then you've got the 12 gauge wire running straight through here, bypassing this white connector, so we won't need this guy anymore. And then you drill a hole in the fuel pump cover, usually in this area, and then this installs, it's got an O-ring and a rubber seal. Put that in there, and then that way the wire will come from over here, from the relay, in through the grommet, and then right straight in through here, down to the pump. So we're bypassing that, and then we have 12 gauge wire running all the way, and that would be for a larger pump. And then when you take the pump cover off, you can just disconnect here, that way you can still get the cover off like normal. And then you've got 12 gauge wire either on with the factory connector or here, but if you're going with a big pump, we do want to bypass this connector because it can be an issue with bigger pumps. And then 12 gauge either way in the pump, in the tank, and then feeding it, we've got on the relay running to the battery, we've got 10 gauge wire. So we've got thick wire coming into the relay, coming out of the relay, and going to the pump.